So before we can start converting between units, we need to know the following fact. Okay, you need to know your millimetres. They are the tiniest little unit. They are those tiny lines in between the centimetres on your ruler. Your centimetre is about the width of your finger. Your 100 centimetres, your 1 metre, well, that's that big ruler you see in the maths room sometimes, normally yellow. Okay, and it's goes just above your teacher's waist. And a kilometre, that's the tricky one to imagine. That's the unit we use for measuring between towns or cities. They were all length units. Thinking about weight or mass, we've got grams and kilograms. Okay, so your grams are what you might weigh sweets in, whereas your kilograms is more what you'd weigh potatoes in, and your tons are really heavy. And again, millilitres and litres. When you have one of those small spoons of cowpole, they are 5 mils. They are a tiny amount. 100 mils would be a litre. And those large bottles of Coke and lemonade, they're normally 2 litres, so 2,000 mils or millilitres. Again, these are just facts you need to learn. So maybe during this lesson you could find some interesting way of teaching people these facts, maybe through a song or a video, but they are really, really important that we learn. Okay, so let's take an example if I want to convert from one unit to another. So let's imagine that I want to convert 5 centimetres to millimetres. And this diagram is really, really useful. My arrows always stay the same. I need to look at my 2 units. Which one is bigger? Are centimetres bigger than millimetres? Well, yes they are, because my centimetre is about a finger and my millimetres are those tiny ones in between. So coming back, so my bigger unit needs to go first and my other unit goes second. And then I need to think, okay, how do I go from centimetres to millimetres? How many millimetres are there in a centimetres? Okay, so there are 10 millimetres in a centimetre. So 10 is really important. And I'm going to put that on both of my arrows because I know there are 10 millimetres in 1 centimetre. Now, my arrow going to the right is times, and my arrow going to the left is divide. And that's my diagram finished. So if I want 5 centimetres, I can put my 5 into the diagram. And if I want to convert it into millimetres, I follow the arrow. And the arrow is telling me to times 10. So 5 times 10 would be 50 millimetres. Let's try that for another example. So if we rub out what we've just done, and this time, let's go the other way. Let's say that we want to, it's not letting me rub that bit out, but we'll change colour. Let's say this time we've got 20 millimetres that we want to convert into centimetres. So my 10 stays the same. And my arrow going to the right is times, and my arrow going to the left is divide. Now this time, because I'm using this arrow along the bottom, because I'm going from millimetres to centimetres, I'm dividing by 10. And 20 divided by 10 is 2. And we can use this diagram with the arrows for any units. The only thing that might change is what I'm timesing and dividing by. Okay, so let's use the same diagram, and let's say we want to find out how many centimetres in 5 metres. So I know a metre is bigger than a centimetre, which is why my metre will go first and my centimetre will go second. My arrows, my top arrow goes forward and my bottom arrow goes backwards. How many centimetres are there in a metre? And that's one of those facts you just need to remember. And it's 100. So I need to put my hundreds in. And if you remember, the top arrow is times and the bottom arrow is divide. So 5 metres into centimetres, because I'm following that arrow, I'm timesing by 100. So 5 times 100 would be 500. So then I know 5 metres is 500 centimetres. Another example. Let's say I've got 600 metres and I want to know how many kilometres that this is. So again, kilometres are bigger than metres, which is why kilometre goes first and metre second. My top arrow goes forward and it's going to be times. My bottom arrow goes backwards and it's going to be divide. I need to remember how many metres are there in a kilometre. There's 1,000. Now, because I'm going from metres, I've got my metres and I want to go 2 kilometres, I'm using my bottom arrow. I'm going backwards. So I'm doing 600 divided by 1,000, which is going to give me 0.6. Have a go at these examples in your book, using the diagrams if you need to, though some of you may just be able to do this in your head. When you're finished, press play and the answers are on the next page and you can use them to mark your work and then get help if you need it. Here are your answers. Mark your work and get some feedback if you need it. We also need to be able to convert between imperial units, and we can do this in exactly the same way using exactly the same diagrams. But these are the facts that you need to learn. Again, can you think of a game or a poem or a song or something, a video to help you remember these? See if you can complete these conversions either using the diagrams that we talked about before or using your own method. Pause the video and then press play to get the answers. Here are your answers. How did you get on? If there's any problems, make sure you speak to your teacher. Finally, we need to sometimes convert between metric and imperial. Okay, so the facts that we need to learn here are 1 inch is 2.5 centimetres, 3.3 feet is 1 metre, and 5 miles is about 8 kilometres. See if you can make up some questions yourself to test each other on converting between metric and imperial units. Complete the work in the textbooks, and what would be really good is if you could create some sort of poster or activity to help people remember all the facts for metric, imperial, and for converting between the two.